We're in Eugene, Oregon for the U.S. Olympic Team Trials track and field. And with us is Ryan Lamppa, project on the planet right now. And it has something to do with the mile. How on earth did you get started with Bring Back the Mile?
Well, the mile has been one of my favorite events for probably since I was a boy. And about a couple years ago, I just started seeing that the mile was not going away. There's articles on the mile, on Roger Bannister and Jim Ryan, and I thought, you know what? The mile still has a place in our sport and in our culture. And I was at the point in my career, and I thought, you know what? I want to do something that's a little bit different, but also something that I love. And I thought, well, the mile. And I thought, okay, what are you going to call it? What is this mile thing? And I said, let's keep it simple. And I said, bring back the mile in as many ways as we can. And I started thinking about it, and I started writing down some ideas and talking to people. And then in January of 2012, we launched, and here we are.
Well, I think it's really interesting because so many high school associations have a 1600 event. Why don't they just make it a mile? It's just so silly.
Well, because unfortunately what happened in the late 70s and the early 80s is that tracks went metric. And many of the officials in those federations, as they set up the different distances, 100 meters, 200, 400, 800, they got to the 1600 and they knew it wasn't a mile, but in their minds, 4 laps, easy to set up and start, and it's close enough. But it's not the mile. And only one state had the vision to keep the mile and the 2 mile, Massachusetts, the only state, and to this day. So, that unfortunately these other states didn't think about the broader vision of the mile and how people can relate to it. It's understandable, and they get it. And for those 30-odd years, thousands and thousands of boys and girls across the country, except in Massachusetts, and at the high-end meets like the Dream Mile, they've been running the 1600, and after high school, it doesn't exist.
Well, it's interesting. Every once in a while in a meet, there'll be a mile run. A few meets keep it just because, but it's really the only distance that's in the popular consciousness. It's the only distance that the ordinary non-track fan knows about.
Yeah, a mile still resonates. People get the mile. We think, speak, and relate in miles. And those meets that run the mile get it, and people understand. And that's why we hope, it's not going to happen overnight, is that these other federations start thinking about the value of the mile as promotion. And all they have to do is move back 9 meters. It's only 9 meters back. And I'm going to say that at the very least, by having almost all these states across the country doing the 1600 at the high school level, it hasn't helped the sport. And for 30-some years, thousands and thousands of these high school milers were unable to run the mile in their home state at their state track meet. And I think that's a travesty, and I think it's a shame. And I think if our sport wants to be more popular, and if we want to promote it better, go back to the mile. And I will almost guarantee you more media coverage, more media interest, because I will tell you right now, there's not a boy in America that's ever dreamed of breaking 4 minutes for 1600, but they have for the mile.
I'm thinking of a story from 4 years ago. Jordan Desolate was in the steeplechase. He made the final, and he was talking about how some people in his family didn't really get what he did. Mm-hmm. But he ran a sub-4 mile at Notre Dame at their, I believe it's the Mayo Mile, but it's always run. And he told his family when he went sub-4, I'm cool now.
Because they got it. It's understandable. And that's why if you are talking to people that aren't track and field people, they're going to ask you about your mile time. And or if you tell them, I do the 1500 and my time is 3:39, whoosh. They can't relate. But if you tell them, I've run a sub-4 minute mile, as we both know, they're going to ooh and ah, because it's relatable, and thanks to Roger Bannister, it's that standard. You break 4 minutes in the mile, people immediately understand what that means. They know you're a good runner, and that's why, for that gentleman, his family finally got what he did when he broke 4 minutes.
Exactly. Couple other things. I know it's run as kind of an exhibition race at a lot of meets. I'm thinking of the Pan Am Games when they were in Windsor a few years ago. They had an exhibition mile that Adam Goucher won, and some other great Canadian athletes. And I'm trying to think of his name right now, but he set the junior record in the mile for Canada, a national record, and the mile national record means more to anybody than a 1500 does.
Oh, absolutely, and because, like I said, the mile is so embedded in our culture, and that's part of a reason why we as a group want to bring back the mile, because we believe that our sport needs promotion and an event that people get and understand and can relate to and talk about. It's the mile. I mean, it's really that simple and that hard. And the thing that I've been most pleased with is the people that we've reached out to, like Jim Ryan, like Marty LaCory, Steve Scott. They said two things after I brought this up with them, this campaign. One, great idea, and it's about time. But secondly, how can I help? How can I help this campaign? And they've stepped up in ways that I appreciate, and so I can call them up and say, hey, I am talking to this potential sponsor, or I'm talking to this media person. They'd like to talk to you. Do you have time? And they say, great. Or I'll sign an autograph. I'll sign T-shirts for you. I'll sign photographs. They have been so generous with their time because they also know that the mile has a place in our culture. It has a rich past, but it's also in the future, because as we both know, right now, our country, I believe, has the best milers, male and female, in the world. In the world, we have the most depth right now. I'm thinking at the top end, we're at the best we've ever been in depth-wise. So why not take advantage of this? And these younger milers like Leo Manzano have stepped up and said, we want to help too. We want to be part of this movement too, because we know that our friends and family, when we say we've run a certain time in the mile, people's eyes light up. If I say 1500, they don't. So it's, like I said, it's so simple, it's hard, but so far we've been I'm very pleased with the response by the media, by people, but moreover, people are talking about this. Most are positive. Some say, well, no, that's in the past. Well, I tell people, go on Google, do a search under mile, under Roger Bannister, and there are thousands and thousands of articles. And the only other distance that is more written about is the marathon.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Couple things. In about an hour, there are going to be two exhibition races, the girls' Nike high school mile and the boys. And as a Michigan person, I have to say there are 3 girls in that field, including the Meyer twins.
Yes.
And the 5,000 record holder, Aaron Finn. So we're pretty excited about it, but it's a mile.
And that's why they're running the mile. They're not running the 1500 here, and it's great that they're having this exhibition at the high school level that's focusing and showcasing the mile. And as soon as those times are run, everyone in the stands is going to relate to those times. Sub 440 or sub 410 on the boys' side. And that's why as soon as we saw that, we said thumbs up, and we're going to be out there taking photographs and then also posting things on our social media, because we know our fans want to hear about how those miles go too. And that's why they're not running a 1600 here. It's the mile. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Back in the spring, we were driving back from, where were we? Oh, watching the Detroit Tigers play spring training in Florida. And I was in the car reading my email on my iPad, and I read this story. Turned out it was April 1st. You almost got me. That was hilarious. You almost had me believing that they were going to run the mile in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, that was a bit of inspiration, and I will tell you, right now, Jenny, you weren't alone. It was actually posted on a major newspaper for an hour, and it was pulled because someone said, check the date. And it was written too. It was written because it made sense to a degree. And plus, I think the thing why I think it works so well is people like you and others that were fooled in a good way was they want that to happen.
Exactly.
And I had a friend that said, I should have known better, but I do want the mile in the Olympics. And I said, so do we. But but that was a lot of fun. But it was, and for us, that came up kind of in a brainstorming session, and I said we can have an April Fool's with this, and it worked better even than we anticipated.
Well, especially when you've got the great middle distance runner, Lord Coe himself, who's chairman of the Olympics.
Right, and his quote, and also the fact that we had mentioned that Roger Bannister had come in and made a plea for the mile in the Olympics. So that helped seal the deal too, I think, is that while Roger Bannister came in and said, I want the mile in the Olympics too, yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Well, Ryan, you're having fun with it, and so are a lot of other people. Let's hope that good publicity keeps going and that the mile does come back.
Yes, and I want all your viewers to go to bringbackthemile.com, check out our website, join the movement, and on our website is a petition for your state, except for Massachusetts. Sign that petition if you want the mile back in Michigan.
I have already, but we'll work on some of those other states. Ryan, thank you so much for talking to us about bringing back the mile.